Last thing, right? Last thing for the day.
Oh, and then Golden Trail.
Okay, we are live, folks. Welcome back to Freetrail's tailgating coverage of the 2025 Broken Arrow Skyrace. We've got some big breaking news happening right now as we speak in Palisades Tahoe. We'll get to that in just a second, but before we do, I have to give a big thank you to our friends at HOKA for supporting our coverage of both the Broken Arrow Skyrace and Western States. Thank you to HOKA for all they do for the sport and for their support of our coverage. I am joined here for the recap show by two residents of Mammoth Lakes, California. Today's third place finisher here today, Dani Moreno. Dani, thanks for coming back into the studio.
Thanks for having me.
And joining Dani for the first time this week, but he's joining us for the duration, I hope, and I think, Mr. Tim Tollefson, the star of Freetrail's coverage whenever we can get him.
It's so good to be back. Has it really been a year?
Has it been a year? Holy smokes. And we're finally warmed up now, and so you're joining us at the right time. And we've got a lot to talk about here in today's show. And maybe we start with the breaking news, but before we do, just a couple reminders for our audience. Please go play fantasy. We got one more Broken Arrow race happening tomorrow, the 23K. Golden Trail World Series is here at Broken Arrow for the first time. Go pick five deep for the men and women. Western States is next weekend, one of the few times of the year that we pick 10 deep. Go put your roster together for the Western States 100. We've also got Lavaredo, the Mont Blanc Marathon, and I might even be forgetting another one. But go to fantasy.freetrail.com and get your picks in. I also want to give a big thank you and recognition to the team behind the scenes, Mr. Ryan Thrower, who literally has worked harder than anybody in Palisades Tahoe, not only today, but for the last few days. And suffice it to say, we still have an ultramarathon ahead of us. So thank you to Ryan Thrower. Also, thank you to Harmony Bowman, who also has probably sent more text messages than anybody in North America over the last couple of days, organizing everything that we do. Thank you to the team. Okay, the breaking news here in Palisades Tahoe is that the 46K has officially been canceled for those who are up on the course. As we were recording our podium interviews with the men and the women, it was just dumping snow. Looking out the window here, there's snow that's stuck to the ground here in the middle of June. Dani, maybe share a little bit about your experience out on the course today from an elements perspective, and if you have any inside information as to what's happening out there on the course right now.
Yeah, this year was already kind of an abnormally cooler year, like to start. I heard there was going to be some rain later in this afternoon, but I was not expecting snow. So yeah, just like big kudos to Brendan and the whole team. I think it is the right call because our second lap actually felt warmer. I could feel it heating up. So I could only imagine the folks out there who, are in tank tops and shorts and stuff like that. Like it's 100% the right call.
Yeah. Anything you want to add? Because it seemed like you had seen or heard some reports that people were hunkered down out there seeking shelter.
Absolutely. As Dani said, these are never easy decisions. There are so many runners that want to be finishing, but from an organizational standpoint, Brendan and his team did the right thing. We spoke about how the tragedy in China, 5-6 years ago, this is how it starts. Bluebird skies, it seems like everything's fine, but mountain weather changes quickly. And if you underestimate that, people can really get into serious trouble. So I applaud the organization for doing this because it is not easy. You have 300 plus people out there on course that want to finish this race, and likely they would have, but it's for their own safety. And while I was leading a pole clinic with some individuals, one of them got a text message from their husband, and he said, "I'm stuck in a shed somewhere on the mountain," but like ops had pushed them in there because of the conditions, and it's the right call. So yeah, kudos to the Broken Arrow team.
Kudos to the team, and they've been rolling with the punches here. Yesterday, of course, the ascent was shortened due to wind volatility at the higher elevations. Today, for most of the day, was beautiful and sort of took a turn here in the late afternoon after the elite athletes had finished. So our thoughts are with the people who wanted to finish a 46K today, but we hope everybody gets off the mountain safely. What we're going to do in today's show is talk through what happened in the 46K today. The women's podium interviews that we did are up on the Freetrail YouTube channel right now, so make sure you go check those out. You probably haven't had a chance to do so, but we had Jen Lichter, Helen Mino Faukner, and Dani Moreno recap the entire battle that they had together, finishing only 75 seconds apart for the women's podium. We also had Eli Hemming, David Sinclair, and Ryan Becker, the men's podium, in studio. We'll be publishing that later this afternoon, so you can hear directly from the podium finishers on separate videos that we're going to have published on our channel today. But what we're going to do is recap what happened out there, provide our commentary and analysis about it. And then we're going to look ahead towards tomorrow's race, the 23K, which, knock on wood, hopefully has better weather for Brendan and the team's sake. Launching into it, maybe starting with you, Dani, and this is where I sort of ended the women's podium conversation. I'd love to have you just comment on the state of American 50K and sub-ultra right now, because obviously you've made your career in this space. You're also the host of the Sub Hub podcast where you have your finger on the pulse. And I mean, today, obviously, Eli, David, Ryan, that's a great team for Worlds. You know, we'll talk about, you know, how things will ultimately shape up. Also on the women's side, Jen, Helen, yourself, and just even looking deeper in the results, which we'll get to in a second, it feels like the U.S. is getting very, very strong at like 50K and below right now. Comments from you?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I was thinking of like myself, Jen, and Helen. Two of us have podiumed at UTMB events. Myself at OCC, Helen at CCC, Jen was 4th at Worlds. Yeah. Like that is a world-class event just with us three. Then you add the 10 other women who have like a plethora of top 10 and Golden Trail World Series races, you know, making their marks at OCC, top 15 finishes, etc. And that's mimicked on the men's side. Eli Hemming being the first American to win. So of the 3 Americans that have placed at OCC, 2 of them were here this weekend, which is insane. So yeah, I think we're just at a point. I myself was at the start line and I just was over the moon happy to be at an event, but I was laughing because I was turning around and saying hi to everyone. I was like, you're here too. Oh wait, you're here too. Holy cow. This is like a 15 deep women's race alone. And then, you know, looking at that on the men's side as well, like there's just everyone can compete at the world stage, especially like in that top 5, 2-time world champion. Like there's not many people who can say that who was racing in their debut. So yeah, it's a very exciting time to be in America. I think we historically have had such a strong global ultra presence, and we're starting to see, you know, younger generation athletes starting to jump into the sport. People just kind of like lean more into the professionalization of it, and also just like opportunities being given to athletes who want to focus on shorter distances. I think that we're starting to see that catch up, you know, kind of that post-COVID era.
Tim, we'd love to have your thoughts on this also, but one of the things that we've been talking about in various shows is that this wasn't the USATF 50K championship, but it feels like the unofficial American 50K championship. Here today, you were up on the mountain. Maybe give us your top line takeaways or build off what Dani mentioned.
Absolutely. And I think what you said at the very end of that, Dani, of like there's more opportunity and there's incentive for athletes to be competing in these sub-ultra distances or 50K and below. And I love it. I'm here for it. It's what I've always been preaching. I know we've all talked about how when I was a younger athlete, when you were a younger athlete, if these opportunities were there, I would have stuck to 50K and below. And it's really cool to see this next generation with those opportunities, with the proliferation of some of these global series and, you know, the media and just the prestige around them. They're getting the flowers they deserve, because that like 2-hour racing, I think that as a product is one of the most exciting, captivating, and like fun aspects of our sport. And so it's really cool to see women like Dani and all these others you just listed have that opportunity to compete here on U.S. soil, which is incredible. Out there on the course today, it was amazing just to see American after American ripping through, and you know, we're not as used to seeing that, or it's just not those stories weren't being told. So it's really cool to see that this next generation of our sport is also elevating the sub distances.
Awesome. All right, so let's start listing some of the top 10 here. Again, we had the podium in studio, but we'll repeat ourselves here. And while we do so, our guy, Mr. Ryan Thrower, is going to pull up some dope clips so that our viewers can be entertained as we list off who performed best here today. Let's start with the men because I have it up here first. Of course, our champion here today, Eli Hemming, who is certainly one of, if not the best 50K runners in the world right now, lowering the course record by 10 minutes, finishing in 3 hours, 50 minutes, 48 seconds. 4 minutes behind him or less than that, David Sinclair, the defending champion, 3:54.10. Third place, Ryan Becker, 3:59.35. Fourth place, Noah Williams, who I want to talk about later. Okay, we'll tee you up for that. So Noah Williams is fourth. Fifth, Jeshrin Small. Sixth, Brian Whitfield. 7, Cade Michael. 8, Coleman Cragen. 9th, Cole Campbell. And 10th, Nick Handel. Tim, do you want to get us started? Because I think, like, obviously we can talk about the podium and who's going to Team USA. So maybe we could start there, but also I'd love to have your thoughts on the guy who narrowly missed out, Mr. Noah Williams, who certainly doesn't get a lot of shine, but is a tough mofo.
Yeah, he is. It's probably a new name to a lot of these like our listeners. They're like, Noah who? Yeah. Williams? But this kid has been on the scene for quite a while. He's one of those, I mean, honestly, he's kind of like a Ryan Becker where he's been logging the hours, putting in the work. He just hasn't really had that breakthrough performance, and I think this was his. But he came to Mammoth Trail Fest 2 years in a row, the last 2 years, and he made significant jumps from 2023 to 2024. I think he finished 15th place in a world-class field last year in 2024. And so it's really neat to see him come out here and nail this one and just off the podium. And, I guess we'll wait and see if some of the top guys take their spots or not. But, he's a young crusher. He's 30 years old. And I think he's just part of that, the generation that Danny's talking about. Like kids are having an opportunity and they're delivering. It's really neat to see.
He was 11th in the ascent. And one thing that's just occurring to me now that we didn't talk about with the men while they were here is that of the top 4, only Eli didn't run the ascent. So David Sinclair was 5th. Ryan Becker was 9th. Noah Williams was 11th. Danny, do you want to comment on that? Because as we look ahead towards tomorrow, Remy Benet's pulled out, so we can talk about that. But El Hussein of the Fantastic Four is the only guy who didn't do the ascent. So, I mean, could it be that the 4-minute margin between Eli and David maybe was the difference in Eli not running the ascent? Who knows?
I mean, it very well could be. Yeah. It's just so hard because I think there are athletes who actually benefit from a double depending on like how long their travel was. Maybe they're not fully acclimatized to the altitude, so like putting in a hard effort before racing between 6,000 and 8,000 feet like helps them get adjusted. But I don't know, if I was David, I would definitely be thinking about that ascent in my legs. And I will say too, like just to the top 10, speaking to them, like Eli has won OCC, Jesh has gotten 5th, and Nick Handel has gotten 11th. And it's crazy that they kind of landed in those spots. Yeah. So just another testament to like how world-class this top 10 was.
And I think with David particularly, like I agree. I think it's like, would I have had more like 3 more minutes in my legs without that incredibly hard push yesterday? However, just knowing that he's coming off of injury and the fact that he said his uphill fitness is there, I think it was a no-brainer that he was going to race the ascent because he wasn't sure how he would fare. He hasn't run downhill in 6 weeks. Yeah. So to not run downhill in 6 weeks and come out here and be 3 minutes off, the best 50K in the world, 50K in the whole world, I think it's a testament to like what he's capable of, hopefully with some more fitness under him.
Yeah, and we should also reinforce that he was 1 spot outside of Team USA yesterday, so he did get redemption earning his spot on Team USA for the World Championships, which maybe, unless we want to talk about some of the other names, I'd love to talk about what we learned from the men in the show. Again, people will have to watch this after the fact, but both Eli and David said that they're planning to run CCC. And in particular, Eli said he's built his entire season towards CCC. Like it's the thing he wants to do. And he therefore feels conflicted about taking a spot on the short trail team only 3 weeks later. In admirable position. I told him, I feel like you've earned your spot. We'd love to have you. David made the point that it's 6 men on Team USA for short trail. Only 3 can score. So even if Eli doesn't have his best day or comes in a little bit under recovered, the rest of the team could sort of, make up for his lack of performance theoretically. I think this is an interesting conversation to have because I know other nationalities prohibit their athletes from doing a race at the UTMB World Final in Chamonix and at the World Championships. Comments from the panel here?
If I take my own personal kind of preferences out of this or concerns of over racing and not encouraging young athletes to over race, I think both David and Eli fall into a category of this new generation where they are handling the loads better. And maybe that's just all the general training, nutrition, recovery, shoes, all these things are benefiting to people being a little more injury resilient. And so if their focus is 100K at the end of August, and I think it's actually 4 weeks until the World Championships after the race, I'm not like, I don't think it's too far-fetched that both of them could double back and have an incredible, 50K-ish performance out there at Worlds. So I like the idea of like letting other people on the team, but I agree with you. They've earned their spots. If they want it, I say go for it. See how CCC goes, put everything into that. And then this could be a victory lap where you get to represent your country at the world stage after hopefully just dominating the world stage at CCC.
I mean, to me, it's like, it sounds ridiculous to make the argument that Eli Hemming's participation on the short trail team gives you a worse chance of scoring overall as a team. I don't know.
Yeah,
and maybe the people in the chat here could clarify, because it was Eli himself who said it's only 3 weeks. So I thought it was 4 also. And that does make a difference for these professional athletes.
It looks like the chat has just confirmed that we know what we're talking about. And the chat meaning Ryan Thrower.
Yeah, I think, because I am in a similar predicament now, because I'm building towards CCC. That is my A goal. And I am also a little nervous about that turnaround, mostly coming off of injury. But it's interesting because like Francesco Pupi, he has his whole year is planned around the double.
Yeah.
That's why he didn't accept his golden ticket. He's like, no, I'm all in on the CCC Worlds double. So it's interesting that Americans are feeling like they have to pick either or. Because, I don't know, part of me, it's like the travel's tough. Like, what do you do? If you go out early for CCC, do you stay there another month? Do you come home and then go back? Like, logistically, it's a little bit of a challenge.
Is Poopy doing CCC and short trail?
I think he might be on the long trail team.
So he's doing the double long.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. So, I mean, what it does is it again leads me to my favorite hobby horse. Don't put the world championships 4 weeks after UTMB. Okay, I will die on this hill, and I will debate anybody who wants to argue the other side.
I second this motion.
That date has been set there for many years, so they knew it was there. Yeah.
All right. Do we want to spend any other time on the names like Jess Rand, Brian Whitfield, Cade Michael? Coleman Cragen's a guy, I don't know, but I recall seeing his name on the Canyons 50K results, I think. Cole Campbell's a guy I know. He's the defending USATF 50K champion. Good guy. Nick Handel, obviously he's been sort of a steady high performer at the 50K distance. But any other comments on the men before we move to the women?
I just hope they're all proud of themselves. That is an incredible field, and to be in the top 10 of those men in particular, I hope all of them are walking away with confidence that they can compete on any world stage and hopefully be in the top 10. I know Josh has kind of had a ringer of performances, tough performances. And so big shout out to him for coming out and getting 5th. But yeah, I just think that is a world-class field.
Speaking of world-class, let's talk about the women. And maybe as we're doing this, Ryan's going to pull up a clip that we have of the women out on the course. And what a freaking race it was. In first place from Missoula, Montana, who was a 4th place finisher at the World Championships just 2 years ago. Jen Lichter running 4:42.32, also lowering the course record by a full 10 minutes. In second place, Helen Mino Faukner, the local, running only 36 seconds back for 43.08. Third place, our co-host here this afternoon, Dani Moreno from Mammoth Lakes, California, 4:43.48. That's our podium. In 4th place, just outside the contention for Team USA, Jane Mouse had an awesome race here, so we'll talk about her. 5th place, Grayson Murphy, double world champ. 6th place, young Ruby Lindquist, who came and won one of our races at the Big Alta. Erin Moyer was in 7th. 8th was Robin Lesh. 9th, Tildy Bangman from Boulder, a name I'm unfamiliar with. And 10th, Callie Cooper. All right, so let's start with the conversation around the podium here. I mean, one of the races of the season, certainly so far, and 3 of the top performances of the season you can make an argument for. Tim, let's start with you because, Danny's conflicted here.
Conflict of interest?
Yes.
So this is what sports fans love. This is what we want. Podiums where you're literally seconds apart, a 70-second podium spread here. This is we're asking for same runner or runners on the track at the same time at Western States. This is as close as we get in a 46K. And I think this is really what highlights what Danny was speaking to earlier, the level of depth throughout the world and this country in this kind of sub-ultra distance is just being raised, and it's really neat to see that we are finding that it's racing, gun to tape. And I think something that Dani mentioned with me offline, and I'll give her kudos, is that she was a little hesitant on the first descent. This is a big race for you coming back from a long injury, which was a challenging recovery. And, you said that you held back a little bit on that first descent. Then you full sent it, all gas, no brakes on the second one. You made up 4 minutes on that descent, which is incredible. And it's kind of like, hey, what could have happened? But I think it's a testament to your slow build this in season, and it's going to allow you to continue this. But it's really neat to you were able to catch these women that were already shredding, and it's neat to see a podium that close.
Yeah. So again, to our viewers and listeners, we already talked all about this with the podium. So Dani, you can feel free to add whatever you want that you didn't get into the previous show, but obviously want to make sure everybody goes and listens to that, because you also share just how meaningful it was. There were tears on the post-race podium interviews, so that was great. So feel free to add to what Tim mentioned, but I'd also really love your commentary on the women who were behind you. So just for our viewers here, again, it was only 75 seconds between first and third, and then it was a full 8 minutes back, but still Jade Mouse ran, 4:51.26, a time that wins this race every single year, would have won every single year. So
what was fifth place?
Fifth place, Grayson Murphy, 4:54.08.
And what's neat about Grayson is this is her first ultra.
Yep.
First 50K, first, I think, marathon on the trail. And she's coming back from, kind of some complicated health issues. So it's really cool to see her stick this one.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of great energy out there today. I said this on the women's podium, but just kind of having some smiles and laughs with Grayson. We kept passing each other, yo-yoing. And Jane, I remember passing her the first lap. So for her to come back to fourth place, man, she really, really closed hard. Grayson, I think she'll stick the landing the next one. This was already an incredible race to go sub-5 on this course in your first go. I hope she is really proud of that and excited. But yeah, I think it's kind of, I've heard on some podcasts, my name, Jen Lichter's name, and Helen Mino Faukner's name kind of be mixed in of who's the best mountain 50K runner. Yep. And so I was kind of laughing with them because I said in the podium, I was not expecting to be in the same breath as them today, but I was like, hey, we lived up to the ticket.
Yes.
I think I would love to race them again. And I think anytime we race, it's kind of a mix. I got the better of Jen last year at Canyons 50K. But yeah, it's just such a special time right now. Such a special time. Okay, so let's talk about the World Championship implications for the women like we did for the men. Well, you reminded us during the interview that Jen got a resume spot on the long trail team, and Jen said she'd prefer to do long trail, that it's the time in her career, much like you, in having focused on 50K and below for the bulk of her career. She's excited to take that next step. So TBD whether Jen is going to stick with, the long trail where she's got a resume spot, or take the spot that she earned on short trail. Similarly, Helen Mino Faukner said she's the first alternate for the long trail team and she'd prefer to be on long trail, but that, it seemed like she would have a decision to make about short trail. My interpretation, at least, was that she would definitely do the long trail if she had a spot on the team, but she's 50-50 as to taking it for the short trail team. And then I toss it to Dani and I say, well, you're definitely going. And Dani was like, well, I'm not sure. So what the hell's going on here? We honestly, after the podium, we were down at coffee bar and we were looking at each other. We're like, this is a really good team, though. This is the best team that might never happen.
Oh my God.
It'll be the miracle on dirt.
Yes.
It's interesting. There's a lot of chess pieces for the women that are super plugged in right now. The fact that Helen Mino Faukner is the first long trail alternate. Grayson, if she submits a resume, and big shout out to all the women that raced today, you submit your resumes if you haven't already. You have the best shots of making the team because there's no roll down. So if people decline, then it potentially will be a full resume team. If Grayson then makes the short trail team, then that pops Courtney Coppinger up. There's a lot of fun chess pieces right now.
Jeez, it's complicated. I'm confused.
Don't become a track fan. It's way worse.
I remember last year when was it the World Championships were going on, and you were teaching Ryan and I about how track and field works.
Well, it's kind of cool. It's a testament to how versatile some athletes are right now. The fact that they have they get to decide between the short trail and the long trail team. I would say it wasn't very long ago where, you know, I felt like they were true ultra specialists.
Yeah.
And now that you have, again, we'll say it over and over again, like this next gen who's been able to like really hone in on their speed and their strength in these 4 to 6 hour races, starting to bump up. It's like, it's not as surprising when they knock it out the park, i.e. Tony McCann last year, CCC, Francesco Pupi, absolutely smashing every ultra he's jumped into. It's pretty fun.
It is so fun.
Fitness is fitness is fitness.
Truth.
Amen.
Okay, any other comments on the likes of Ruby, Aaron, Robin, Tilda, Callie?
Okay, I need to remember this, but Rick Floyd, I think is his last name, coached like 4 in the top 10 of the women today.
So that's Helen Mino Faukner and MK Sullivan's coach.
Yes, exactly.
Reno.
I can't remember the exact name, so big shout out to his coaching. But Ruby, I think she had a really, really smart race. I heard her name quite a handful of times, people shouting up behind me. I think that's a really, really strong for her race for her. And then Erin Moyer, she on that first lap, man, she was cruising. Yeah. She looked very, very strong. Another one, I'm chomping at the bit to watch her race again because this was a great performance.
She's also from the Reno area.
That's amazing. How many women were under 5 hours?
9 of the top 10. So
That's
10th place, Callie Copper, excuse me, finishing 5:01.
Yeah, I haven't heard of her, but now I have.
Yeah.
I mean, historically, if you broke 5, you would win this race.
Of course, yeah. And it took 4:42 today.
Yeah.
Good grief. Incredible racing. Any final comments on the 46K before we look ahead towards tomorrow?
The one thing that caught my eye was in 12th place, Sarah Beal, JFK winner, previous course record holder, 12th place. It just highlights the depth of this field and like the amount of talent that was out there.
Yeah, I think Claire DeVoe was 11th, who is also fantastic.
The course
50K runner.
holder.
Yeah. Wow, what a day, what a day. Like we said, the unofficial US 50K championship out there, and it certainly lived up to the hype. All right, so tomorrow, Golden Trail makes its way to Broken Arrow for the first time. We're going to talk about that, starting with the course. But before we do so, we got to give a big thank you to our friends at HOKA for making our coverage possible throughout race weekend and into Western States Week. You got to check out this new Mafate X. Ryan wears it in the podcast studio to make sure he's got perfect traction when he's on the 1s and 2s. He also wore it out on the hill today, and you probably took how many thousands of pictures today, Ryan? 2,000 to 3,000 pictures today. So shout out to Ryan, and he couldn't have done it without that Mafate X from HOKA. Carbon plated, 2 super foams, dual density, built for speed and comfort. Go check it out at hoka.com, and a big thank you to HOKA. Okay, Ryan, if you could please bring up the graphic for the course tomorrow. Dani and Tim, you are not going to see this yourselves, but Dani, you ran it twice today, so maybe we can start with you. The stats on it for the audience: 14 miles, 4,300 feet of vertical. Get us started. What's
the vibe?
Bring us into the course.
So the first 4 to 5 miles are really fast and runnable. Incredibly fast. Like, it feels like you're out in Auburn, to be honest, with a couple of like little quick hitters of downhills, and then you get into what they call like the 3 steep ramps. One of them is like K22 and stuff like that. Those hills are brutal because sprinkled in between them are kind of like these half mile, like 15 to 20% downhills. So as you're climbing up, it gets steeper and steeper, and obviously you're getting higher and higher and a little bit more exposed. Like you could feel the wind a little bit more. And then as you get a little bit closer to this top, like past Doe Ridge, then you go up. You're basically scrambling. Like it's really tough to run up it. You're on your hands, getting up to the ladder, which is very exposed. A little bit more scrambling before you crest the top. And we had snow stairs today. Odds are they're going to have snow stairs tomorrow and probably a little bit more. And then you get to the, in quotes, flattest part of the course, which is hilarious because it's at the highest point of the course. And then it's an incredibly fast quad banger of a downhill all the way to the bottom of Shirley Canyon.
Road on the ski hill. Yeah.
Yes. Some of it is probably, I would guess to say like 25, 30%. Like you're almost holding back. And then you finish the last bit of the course with one more climb out of Shirley Canyon, which is fully covered in snow right now. And then you have the last part of the downhill, which is, I would say, semi-technical single track. Like, you could definitely roll your ankle. They have a bunch of death cookies just littered on the trail. And you're just kind of like going down these switchbacks.
Could you define death cookie?
Yes, I love this new term.
I learned it from Corinne Malcolm. So it's like, imagine the size of a cookie, and that's your rock. Yeah. So it's like you can roll your ankle quite. And so when it's just a bunch of them, it's like, where do I put my foot?
Death cookies.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you finish with the last service road downhill, which you can almost catch people on that, I learned today.
Yeah, it's I think that was, no one could top your description of that, having just done it twice and crushed it twice. And I think as you describe those, you break down that first climb, it's basically 7.5 miles to the summit, but the first 4.5 miles, almost 5 miles, only have about 1,500, 1,700 feet to climb. And it's that gradual where it's punching a ton in that last 2.5, 3 miles to the summit. And that long descent, I mean, the men are going to be running 5 flat, maybe below 5 minute pace. The women are going to be in the like low 5s to mid 5s. You can just absolutely rip that downhill, with the exception of that first technical. And I believe the death cookie section is actually where Mackay took a pretty bad stumble last year and like split open his knee is on the death cookies. So hopefully
Shout
the Baker is taking a sabbatical tomorrow, and there is not much on the trail, but you got to be careful.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because today there was some ice down in Shirley Canyon. Like, you had to watch the rocks, and it just snowed. And also coming out of Shirley Canyon, it was a pure, like, almost river. Like, your feet were getting fully wet.
Yeah. Okay, so tomorrow, thank you for the description of the course. I think what you mentioned, just to add a little bit more color, I think is really astute in that, like, when it's steep, it's freaking steep up there. And it does make it challenging because you have these little flatter sections mixed in. Yeah. And I don't know, to me, you'd almost prefer it to just keep going up or something. There's something about the rhythm breaking nature of the fact that, you could look at his moments of recovery, but it almost makes it more challenging. But it definitely is a mountainous course, but at the same time, you have to be able to run sub 5 minute pace, in order to win the race, like in those really fast sections. So you have to be a well-rounded athlete. As we begin to look at the characters in the race, we've got 3 notable scratches, including Remy Bonnet, who it seems like has just revealed he's got a stress fracture. I actually haven't seen the post, so feel free to inform the audience about that. That's a major bummer. Remy has been such an insane world-class athlete for the last several years, so our thoughts are with him. He is here in Olympic Valley, so glad he's here, but unfortunately he will not be racing. And then Courtney Coppinger, who's been crushing it recently, she's not going to race tomorrow. Janelle Lynx, who I think was 8th or something like that in the Ascent on Friday, it seems like has opted not to start tomorrow. And then speaking of the weather, it's clearing up now. Forecast is sort of mid to low 50s. It seems like it could be a perfect day to run hard out there. We saw 2 course records today. Obviously the Ascent route was changed, so no course records yesterday, but probably course record style conditions just given the weather and temperature, but also the level of competition. So
I will say too, there's a high potential for hero dirt, which is like when the dirt feels a little bit more compacted, and that's pure, like, great for course records. Great
addition there too. Death cookies and hero dirt on the course tomorrow. Okay.
And I mean, if we had enough snow covers, they've removed the death cookies, which is nice. But I think if we have the temperatures that they're forecasting with the hero dirt, course records are falling.
Yeah. Okay. I guess let's start with the defending champions. Patrick Kipneno and Joyce Njeru are back here to defend in the 23K. Patrick opted not to race the Ascent. Joyce did. So maybe, Danny, you can get us started anywhere you want, but just want to establish both defending champions are back. Maybe you could just talk about the women to get us started, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I mean, Joyce was the Golden Trail World Series champion last year. I know she's had a little bit of a rougher start, but like that comes with a huge asterisk because she still is kicking butt. She's just like not at that same tier where she was absolutely demolishing everyone in races. Do you want me to go through the whole women's list?
Might as well.
Okay. I think Anna Gibson and Lauren Gregory are going to absolutely rip it
Do
tomorrow.
you view them as Joyce's biggest competition?
Yes, for sure. And a fresh Lauren Gregory is lethal, as she just showed at Centipede Scramble. I think she's locked in, and the fact that she didn't jump in the ascent, it could potentially be that extra oomph. She is coming off of injury, but she absolutely smashed at Centipede Scramble. Anna Gibson is in the highest tier of performance right now. Like, I am already predicting she will be on the podium at Sierra Zanal. I think she is that fit this year. The only thing is that Lauren Gregory is slightly fresh coming into this.
And now Anna has an opportunity to maybe medal twice in the vertical and the classic at the World Championships too.
Yes, which would not surprise me, to be honest. Yeah.
Okay, so if we view them as the three favorites tomorrow, Joyce, Anna, Lauren Gregory.
Not to forget Madalena Floria. This is her type of terrain, like fast, runnable. She's gotten she's leveled up in her technical running, so I think this will feel like nothing to her. To me, she's had the best string of Golden Trail World Series races this year at the early Asia races, and then a strong win at Noli against Falaris Kasenga team run together. So I think actually Madalena is the favorite.
Whoa.
And I think Anna Gibson, Lauren Gregory, and Joyce, are the challengers. But again, just having, we're on American soil. So I personally would love to see Lauren and Anna, go 1-2.
Tim?
Yeah, I think that's a really good call. Lauren, even though she's coming off of an injury, I would imagine she's the type of athlete that's been cross-training like crazy, and she may have more talent than any of the other women in the field. And so I think that if her momentum's been building, and as you said, she did not race the ascent, I think she's going to give Madalena a very good run for her money. And I have a hunch that Lauren's going to be throwing punches, and I don't know. I think Lauren is going to take the dub, which would be really neat to see.
That'd be sweet.
But I mean, Madalena, this is type of her like dream course. It's very runnable. She has wheels also, but Lauren is a 109 half marathon runner. Like that's
Madalena's 110.
Okay, so it's which a minute isn't much, but in the half marathon, it is a substantial difference.
Wow.
But that's incredible that both of them, they will be able to run 5 flat, maybe below 5-minute pace running down these steep hills, like on the service road. So it's, and I don't know, I think you're right with Anna Gibson. I think she is a future world champ. And if she comes out tomorrow and let's say wins this race, she's just put the entire world on notice, for what's to come the rest of the year.
Seriously. Holy smokes. One person I don't want to overlook is somebody who has performed extraordinarily well here, at least, especially the last 2 years. Jade Belsberg, who was second behind Tony McCann in the 46K last year and was third.
The 1-lap race. She was second behind Joyce.
Excuse me. Okay, so she's coming back the second place in the 23K last year. Okay, thank you for that clarification. But anyway, she got third in the ascent yesterday. And she's just been on a heater, having won Chuckanut. She was second at the Gorge 100K. There's a great stat, which our audience might be sick of hearing at this point, but she's qualified for 2 distances at the World Championship for Canada, but she did qualify for a 3rd distance. Plus, she's got dual citizenship. Her finish at Gorge would have gotten her a long trail team for USA, and her ascent on Friday would have gotten her a vertical Team USA qualification. So she's basically qualified for 5 teams here in the last 11 months. Jade Belsberg is really on a heater right now. And so one of these other sort of Americans who certainly here at what we can assume to be an international world-class field who could do some damage.
Yeah, I'll give people a little insight because I'm definitely I look into stats before races, and I actually based a large part of my race strategy off of Jade's race last year.
Cool.
Is she was 5 minutes behind the leader when we came out of the trees, roughly 4 miles last year, and then she ended up moving up 6 or 7 places and beating a lot of us by 5 to 7 minutes. And I was like, that's who you need to pay attention to. So she's extremely her race IQ is high. So I think she's someone that if she comes out of the trees and she's not with the women yet, she will be.
Wow. Interesting. Okay. A couple other names who did well in the ascent who are doubling back. A really interesting person who MK shared a little bit about, but Danny would love to get your perspective. Sydney Peterson, who is the second American, 4th place in the ascent. We talked about Jade Bellsberg. Allie Mack, also on the start line. She's won the 23K here in the past. Hillary Allen surprised herself with, I think it was 6th place overall, 3rd American in the ascent, where she got a ticket to Team USA. I think she dropped out of the 46K today because she was going to be doing the Triple Crown. But those are 3 other names who, have had a great, start to Broken Arrow weekend, who are going to be doubling back in the 23K. Do you know anything about Sydney? Because she was one of the surprises of the ascent.
Yeah, I know she's newly minted Brooks, and I forget whose partner she is, but I believe she was on Trail Team maybe before. But honestly, I don't know a lot about her. She was a huge surprise for me on the VK team, which is really exciting. To Hillary Allen's point, I saw her 2 weeks ago at GoPro, and she verbatim said, I would like to start doing short stuff because I'm tired of feeling slow. And then she made the VK team, and I was like, all right, you're the biggest sandbagger I know. Yeah. So yeah, I think those are both a couple of women to watch. Obviously, Allie Mack, she's probably run this loop more than anyone out here, knows it like the back of her hand. Rachel Tomajic is another one, had a little bit of a rough day at the ascent that I think could do well. And then a couple of other international names. I don't know if Camila Magliano is here, but she's an Italian runner. She was 7th at OCC last year, has won a plethora of Valsier World Mountain Running Association Cup VKs. And then Alice Goodall is another one as well.
Cool.
I mean, Sydney Peterson, she was 7th in the 23K here last year, which was a Golden Trail World National, or it was a National Series race. Yeah. But then she came to Mammoth Trail Fest and she finished 13th, just outside the top 10 at a World Series event. So, I mean, I think she's displaying that over the course of the last 12 months, she's continually steadily improved. So, yeah, I'm long on Sydney.
Yeah, one of those up-and-coming names to watch. And I think she's, like, newly graduated. I think she went to Colorado State. So, I think sort of like similar to Anna and Lauren, who come from that traditional pedigree D1 track and field athlete who clearly has a knack for the mountains, living in Crested Butte, Colorado. So no stranger to these high elevation mountain environments. Moving to the men, if that's okay.
Can I say one more
Go
woman? Taylor Nowlin, mom of two baby girls, twin girls back out there.
Hey, and it's been a weekend of the parents, 7 kids on Team USA for the men in the ascent, with Christian Allen has 3, Joe Gray has 2, and Tyler McCandless has 2. Cam Smith doesn't have any, so he's the goose egg on the ascent team, but 7 kids on the men's team. So,
are you feeling shafted? Where's the dad strength?
Yeah, it doesn't exist. I'm convinced it's a complete farce, or at least I'm the only person immune from it. But yeah, thanks for bringing up Taylor, and shout out to her. Hope she has a great day. Moving to the men, let's start. I mean, obviously, defending champion is back, but who is also here, the reigning trail runner of the year and the reigning Golden Trail World Series winner, El Hussein El Azawi, the Flying Camel, the best nickname in sports. Great to have him here. I think you probably know El Hussein personally. Share a little bit of insight about him.
Yeah, it's been really cool to watch him throughout the years, just always knocking on that door. And last year, it was finally his year. This year so far, he ran either the half or the marathon at Chianti. And then at Noli, he actually got outkicked by Philemon Ombogo for his first Golden Trail World Series race of the year. And then backed that up with a win at Zagama. With El Hussein, he can do anything. Like, he can run the most technical races. And then as we saw last year here in the States, he can also run very fast runnable races. Of course, we have that iconic finish at Mammoth Trail Fest of all races between him and Patrick on a course that I would say
Elbow gate.
Yeah, elbow gate. A similar-ish profile like Mammoth. We have the kitty litter, which here I would say the dirt is a little bit different. But yeah.
Hero dirt, death cookies, and kitty litter, okay? Danny's got all of them.
The queen of terminology.
Yes, I love this. This is amazing. Printed on a T-shirt.
But yeah, El Hussein, to me, I mean, he's the king right now. Yeah.
Tim, all right, so, yeah, it was El Hussein, Patrick, Philemon at Trail Fest, right?
Yep.
So all 3 are back.
Where we had the closest finish ever in history, a second separated El Hussein and Patrick, and it was that famous elbow gate, as you said. And, I think we were talking about the Fantastic Four, and unfortunately Remy has had to withdraw. And maybe not there on the global stage yet, but I feel like Christian Allen could easily be thrown in to be a substitute. He could be tagged in as a Fantastic Four nominee. He obviously just won the Ascent yesterday, and I think he's a great addition to this field. And having a 2:10 marathon to his name now, he is one of the most talented runners in the field, and I think he's one that we should be considering in that podium. But Elazine,
could Christian win?
He could absolutely win. I think this is a race that suits him well.
Yeah.
He is a climber. He just proved that. He was the fastest up the Ascent, beat a world-class field in the Ascent.
Yeah.
And, these guys weren't sandbagging it. Like, they went out, because there was not only reputation, money, and points standings on the line. So no one was going to be, thinking about Sunday. They were thinking about Friday in the Ascent. So I think very much so that he could win. And as you described in your great preview of the course, this course suits him incredibly well. You hop on that downhill fire road, this guy could be running 4:20 pace coming down that thing.
Yeah.
And be cruiser. He could be zone 2, and these other guys are going to be like, oh my God. And so I think this is a course that suits him well. I think it'll just be, as you also described, the rhythm breaking, where something like his marathon PR was at Houston, pancake flat. It's a rhythm run. This suits a mountain athlete that can change gears. They can go from high octane to suddenly running flat, the flattest section of the course. All those things play into, and Christian is starting to prove himself, but I don't think he's quite on that level that all these other top guys like Elazine has shown. Zagama, technical. He can run in anything. So I think that would be the variable.
I love it. That's great insight, Tim. Dani, one thing that I'm recalling you flagging to me is you viewing this as sort of like a USA versus the world type matchup. Tim's opened the door on Christian Allen, but we've also got the likes of Andy Wacker, who's arguably one of the best mountain runners the U.S. has ever produced. We got Taylor Stack, who crushed it in the 23K last year, turned some heads. And then, as we look at Mason Copy, who's on a heater, already qualified for Team USA. And then we've got at least a couple Europeans. I think we got Roberto De Lorenzi, Henry Airmondo, and then we've got, the Canadian in Remy LaRue. So, USA versus the world.
Yeah, I'm not trying to create teams, but it's more so, I love everyone. It's more so that at least when I was starting to learn about trail running, it was always you have to go to Europe to compete against the best. You have to fly over there, and resources, time, it's very tiring to travel. And over these past few years, as Western states has become more globalized as well, obviously happening next weekend, I think it's nice for people to come here and experience our version of the sport. I think there is this kind of precedence that American runners are fast, but we're not good at the most technical terrain. But people are starting to learn we can do everything, but also it's nice. Yeah, it's just nice when other countries can come here and experience our type of spirit and love of the sport. So that's what I mean by that. And I don't know, having experienced that at Mammoth Trail Fest a couple years ago, where I'm wow, I get to sleep in my own bed. I don't have to travel 12 hours. And that was one of my best races, I would say on my resume.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's more so just that it's hey, we always come to you, why don't you come to us and see what it's about,
Let's go.
And that's the beauty of trail is you scan the entire globe and you're going to have different variety of underfoot. You're going to have different climates. You're going to have different
gradients.
Everything is different. And that's where I think it's neat to be able to showcase and embrace what makes a specific area unique and really lean into that heavily. And it's neat also then you see runners, you can kind of extrapolate okay, who is the most versatile athlete? And you were saying with Jade, can almost win on anything, short, long. Same thing with this type of underfooting in the terrain. It's, the variety is the spice of life, and it's really cool to see athletes being exposed to something outside of maybe their core niche that they've kind of perfected. And so having them come over here and experience it is really neat.
Love it.
One last thing I'll say on that too, just with Mammoth Trail Fest alone, I will sing Tim's praises. It's just so cool to have world-class athletes come and show what's also possible, on your terrain that you train on all the time too. So it's show us what's possible, but also I want to be part of the action.
Yeah, so cool. One name, an American name we don't want to overlook also is Cam Smith, who qualified
Oh
for
my
Team
gosh.
USA in 2 distances, the vertical and the classic. He's going to be running the 23K tomorrow. And then a name who was in the Ascent, Tim, I want to tee you up on this. Isn't Sam Chalanga?
Oh man, you took my dark horse.
Please go.
Oh man.
Go,
I was gonna
go.
say, if you haven't already picked for Freetrail Fantasy, go to fantasy.freetrail.com. Scroll to the very, 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 very bottom. Sam Chalanga. It was part of the greatest race in the history of all sports. May 2010, Chris Zielinski broke 27-minute barrier in the 10K on the track for the first time ever. First non-African runner under 27. Sam Chalanga set the Division I NCAA 10K record at that same race. They're running like 27:07. He showed up at the Ascent on Friday. I saw that in the results, maybe 15th place. I'm like, Sam Chalanga, multi-time Olympian, 1 flat half marathoner. Like, what is he doing? I love it. But he's racing tomorrow. So I don't know where I'm going with this, but I was just so stoked to see it.
Amazing.
And I was going to say, Sam Chalanga is in my top 5. I don't care if he has no experience. I'm just going to throw him in there. Fitness is fitness is fitness.
Wasn't it the Prefontaine Classic where Zielinski ran that sub 27? I mean,
It was at Stanford.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. My point is I know nothing about track and field, and even I know about Chris Zielinski's race. So Chalanga was in that one too.
But it's really cool, and it's showing this kind of crossover from, he's now 40, so he's a masters athlete. But, that was probably his first ever trail race, the Ascent on Friday. It's really neat to see someone still having love for the sport, and now he's in trail. I'm here for that. It's
great.
You look at this world-class field, I'm a hopeful romantic that he would be able to crack the top 10, maybe top 20, but I'm a big fan of Chalanga. We love to see you here. Stay at it. Whatever happens, let's have you come on out to Trail Fest because we want to see you there too.
Yeah, come to Trail Fest. Danny, any closing comments on the men's field? Any other dark horses you want to flag for the audience?
Just one more, Cesar Maestri. He's been in 2 top 5s of Golden Trail World Series races this year. And then I'm not sure if he's here, but Roberto De Lorenzi.
Yep.
Also, he's finished in the top 5 overall for Golden Trail, and he's just like a little Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, stud. Wow, that was fun, guys. Any other closing comments before we wind down? You and I are doing the broadcast together tomorrow, aren't we?
Yes.
All right.
Death
So-
cookies. We're
Yes.
there. We'll talk all about it.
But it's not going to be live on YouTube as I understand it. I think it's only going to be for Warner Brothers Discovery subscribers. So you guys can go get your subscription now. But from what I understand, there's a 24-hour embargo, at which point it will go up on the Golden Trail YouTube channel. But myself and Dani Moreno are going to co-host that broadcast, which is going to be sick.
It's going to be so exciting.
Yes.
Yeah, I have HBO Max, and I already see the little picture for it.
Really?
Yeah, we're going to be famous.
We're going to be on HBO? Come on.
Sopranos, and then us.
Yeah, it's like Game of Thrones and
Us.
Devo and Danny. All right, cool.
Yeah, one more thing. I just think both course records are in detriment tomorrow. Like, they are in danger.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Tim, any closing comments from you? Did you bring a Tim's transcendent truth for us here today?
I'm too cold. It's been 12 months. I'll bring some next week. I don't have anything off the
Next
top of my head. But if I'm just going to plug fantasy.freetrail.com,
Yeah.
get your picks in. Tomorrow's going to be an absolute banger, and I can't wait to see it unfold.
Are you going to be up on the course at all?
Oh, you better believe it. I'm going to be out there.
Just cheering for Chalanga.
And if I need to kick in some extra snow steps for the field, I will. I'm going to talk to Brendan and the team and see if they need operational help because we can't stop this race. We need to have it happen.
All right. And as I understand it, Tim is now locked in for the duration all the way through Western States. So fans of trailgating, you've got your MVP back, and we are all better for it. Welcome back, Tim. We're glad to have you here. Okay. You already plugged fantasy, so I don't have to. But as we wind down here, I want to remind you to please subscribe to our YouTube channel while you're watching. It would mean a lot to us. We work hard to bring this all together, and we'd really appreciate it. We will be back in studio here tomorrow with our final Broken Arrow Trailgating show at 3:30 p.m. Again, we're going live at 3:30 p.m. every day, all the way until Thursday, June 26th, the Thursday before Western States. Go to HOKA.com, get a pair of the Mafate X. And then finally, a big thank you to the team behind the scenes. Mr. Ryan Thrower, thank you for working so hard today, buddy. Throwing the patented peace sign up. Harmony Bowman behind the divider. And Lindsay Tollefson also providing support here. Okay, for the team here in studio, Tim Tollefson, Dani Moreno, everybody else.